So with our handsome Mr. Z, we're going to warm up a little bit with some find its, and then I want to go into working a bit of recall, but instead of using necessarily food as our paycheck for coming when called, I want to do a little bit with some play behaviors as well. So I also want to make sure that his take it and drop it skills are coming along nicely. So remember how a lot of times with especially puppies, we tend to use the drop it or give or out cue as I want to take that thing away from you, so let it go. So make sure that you are still practicing a lot of those lovely, nice job, sir, the exchange game that we've mentioned prior, where you're practicing with items he's allowed to have, and he's working on going from one item to another and feeling that letting go is not the end of the fun, but it's also not confrontational or that you're always taking the thing away. If again, typically when your puppy has something and you want them to relinquish the item and we're constantly just being, again, the end of fun, they might start to think that, gee, maybe I shouldn't go near them when I have an item. And that can be dangerous if it was a, again, a situation where it could be toxic or choking hazard or something that just should be technically a leave it item. So I would highly recommend to practice those exchanges with items he's allowed to have. We are going to practice a bit with some of our gorgeous little recalls and see if we can do a little bit of recall with play. So what I mean by that is as he comes into you and into the recall, you're going to play with him versus feeding him for the recall. Nice job, sir. So because for some puppies, play is even more reinforcing or enriching than even the food might be. Good job, sir. So throughout this, I'm also just capturing really great moments where he's either offering eye contact, he's offering a nice settle or relaxation. He offered a really nice little sit previously. So the main goal is, remember that if you don't feed for the little glimmers of beneficial skill sets or behaviors, you're more than likely missing out on moments where your puppy could have been successful and then viewed us as part of that success, but then also make it seem appealing from his perspective to even give it an effort. If, again, we only reinforce the hardest setups, then that might be well past your puppy's understanding or comfort range, and you may always be waiting for perfection, and they may never get there. So I would highly recommend to feed the moments that you know could be the stepping stones into bigger skills for down the road. He's doing a really good job. So let's say, for example, we're going to practice take it and drop it's in general before we throw in recalls and before we throw in more excitement. A lot of times, remember, with a developing brain, so he is an adolescent, or even with some adult dogs that haven't really practiced this, I would make sure to not rev the engine into the point where they lose control and crash into the wall. So what I would recommend is when you are playing, you rev the engine enough where you can still use the brakes and stop or slow down the play behavior and then get them to re-hone in or check in. If play always equals go bananas until the point where you have no more energy or until the point where they want to give up, then you might be, by accident, reinforcing over arousal, and then at times also the puppy's inability to, when they get excited, be able to come back from it. So do kind of view it as a way to practice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my two toys. So I know one is from home and one is mine. So I'm going to have one in my pouch, so of my hoodie here. I'm going to have this other toy available. I'm going to go ahead and say, ready, take it. So right now, I'm simply working on him grabbing the item. The item comes alive and we're kind of playing together. When I want him to relinquish the item, I would stop tugging, hold it limply, or even let go if it was a safe situation to do so. What I mean by that is some puppies then try to run off with the item, or they might try to break it. So I would recommend items like this should be obviously interactive, where you are playing with the puppy and supervised. So this is not a chew toy. This is not something that he should go and be breaking or ripping open and trying to ingest. So right here, we're going to go and we're going to see, nice job, sir, if we can go and do a little drop it. Yes. So in the beginning, I ask for my drop. All right, Ebba, you can just push the button at the very bottom. Can you do that for Mama? She's on the other side doing something and she's asking for help, but I think she can do it for a moment. So you'll see that throughout the play. That one just kept getting kicked by his foot, so we had to go chase it. You'll see that at times I do take little breaks from the play with some find it, or we might get a little sit from him. And then from there, we might go, ready, take it. So I do like to have an on-off switch. So for my guys, it's normally take it or go get it or whatever slogan you guys prefer. He says he's already so exhausted he has to do this laying down now. So let's say, for example, your puppy's playing and you want to have your release word for the item to be drop it, give, out. You will not want to use your word leave it. Leave it is, again, for things that are always off limits. So I might go again, drop it. Yes. Right now, my hand going near is the visual for letting go. Later, you would fade that out. You would have them release the toy, and then you could either play again or exchange for another toy or feed for the let go. So ready, Zeus? Take it. Nice. So let's say we're playing with this one. It's alive and he's got it. I could then technically let him have it, and then I might go, Zeusy, ready? What's this? Ready? Yes. So he could practice going from one toy to another. If, for example, he prefers one over the other, you may find that maybe the new toy seems much cooler than the one from home, which is no worries. So I'll plop it back in my pouch. Sometimes you may find that for some of them, ready, Zeusy? Yes, nice name recognition, right into a little find it, is if they prefer a certain toy, and I think I just got this one on Amazon, so it's not a very expensive toy, but it is a sheepskin tuggy. So it's, again, sheepskin on a little handle. I know we mentioned cleanrun.com, which is, I think, where you got the rabbit one, is you can, again, get real fur or non, so whatever makes you feel comfortable. Yes. But you want to make sure that if, let's say, he liked the sheepskin one, you can maybe have two of the same toy or similar products and rotate between one to the other. So you could have him have one, ready, take it, and then have the toy come alive, and then all of a sudden the toy goes limp, and you bust out the new toy and have him exchange between the two toys. It's a really great way to keep engagement with the play, but then also make it non-confrontational, and that letting go, again, is not the equaling of the fun game is over. So again, right now, we're keeping him still within his comfort range. Like, he's not getting so excited they can't function. But I want to make sure that we do at times sometimes rev the engine and then practice putting the brakes on. So we might go, ready, drop it. Yes, nice job. So you'll see too that if, let's say, movement from the toy gets him a little too excited, I might even keep the toy nearby but limp, but then I just don't play with him until it's time. So take it. Nice, good job. And you'll have to excuse me, I have a cough drop in my mouth. I don't think I'm getting a cold, but for right now, I had a little tickle. And of course, while I'm filming and the heat's roaring in the background, it gets very dry in here. Good job. So again, too, guys, letting your puppy win from the tuggy is perfectly wonderful. So a lot of times people are like, oh, you have to always be the winner in the tug of war. Truthfully, that's not the greatest option because it might make your dog want to give up playing because it's never really fun from their perspective. So tugging is great. They might then go ahead and catch the critter, and now they've caught it, but now again the critter no longer wiggles, nor does it come alive, and there's no more tugging. So I might get Mr. Z's attention. So Zeus, ready? Yes, nice job. So I might do name recognition. I might go, ready, Zeus? Ready? Find it. Movement away from the item does help you go and retrieve it when they're sometimes a little bit more bitey. Because remember, we're dealing with a young boy, or girl, so it doesn't matter, but you're dealing with a puppy. So a lot of times they're still working on that bite inhibition and what should maybe be acceptable to chew on versus not, and how much pressure to use. So remember that if we give our puppies, though, dog-centric outs, that means that you or others or smaller friends in the family or even other dogs won't be the casualty of that boredom or that outlet that hasn't been, fulfilled. So I'm not saying that 24/7 does your puppy have to be working things, but I would recommend that they have certain situations where they're practicing typical dog behavior, but in a controlled manner where it's, again, on things they're allowed to tug or chew or rip or yank on and chase. Nice. So we might do another little drop it. Yes. Nice. And then from there, I'd go. So the other thing, too, is you guys may like this, is to have a word where you're asking, are you ready, is typically like what I'll say with my dogs when we're about to practice something or play. So I'll go, are you ready? And then, of course, they'd normally get a little excited. He's already a little pooped out. And I'd say, take it. And now, again, they could go from, he's going to do lazy play, which I think is just flop like a noodle. So poor Mr. Z, so tired. Oh, so he's probably having a growth spurt as well. which I find affects behavior quite often, where they could be even a little bit more disjointed or a little bit less connected. And sometimes, sometimes maybe even a little crabby sometimes because they're not feeling so well within their body. So remember that if your puppy is not giving you typical responses, that might be the only way they can say how they're feeling. So kind of just keep rocking it until the point where he's like wants to give up or says no thanks is maybe where you might be noticing he's maybe needing more of a rest moment. Nice. Nice, drop it. Ready? Go get it. So again, having him chase the critter, he catches it, and then we might go, ready, drop. Yes, good boy. So you can start to then, obviously in the beginning you saw I was using the food going near his nose to relinquish the item. As he becomes more fluid, remember you want to fade out that lure. So if you tend to always have the food in the hand, remember your puppy's not trying to not listen. They may just not understand that you're still asking for the same skill set. So if in the beginning food was presented first and always, then the moment you don't have food, the pup may not understand the sentence in which you're trying to give them. So let's say he's gotten pretty good with the drop it exercise. You would simply say drop it, and then you'd feed right after or play again or exchange for the other toy. Nice job, Mr. Z. He says, I am winded. So if your puppy is ready for another round, you might say, you ready? And then take it. Nice. And now my toy is alive, and we can practice doing some little tugging. He's like, oh, this is as good as it gets, lady. And then we might go again and he's like, how about another drop it? You're getting very good. So, and if you have a puppy that is very food-driven versus toy-driven, they do have some toys on Clean Run that are, for example, a toy that you can then, it's Velcro, and you can put the pieces together, but you can hide morsels of food in the toy to build up the drive and wanting to grab for the toy or explore the toy. And as the dog then engages with it, it can pop open and then they can grab the snacks within. But for Mr. Z, I would recommend that if you are doing some play, this could be a great way to give him an outlet other than bombarding his older sister, who again at times is not a huge fan of his puppy antics. So definitely would recommend have these little moments where throughout the day you might rev the engine and then practice calming down. Because if he can't practice getting soft from play, how is he going to get soft from seeing his sibling or from getting excited seeing a distraction outside or even when family members come in and out of the house? So what you're trying to do is like test drive the scenario before you're again really on the roadway. So, but Mr. Z did a very good job with this take it and drop it. And we're going to give him a little break from this behavior and work a few other skills. Nice job.